Spurs got to blow it up. Blow up the team. No more DeJounte. Four losses in a row. Rebuilding team. It's okay. Breathe. This is expected. Spurs Weekly Update, where we talk about the Spurs' previous week of games and preview the upcoming week of games. We're going to be talking about a winless week in this one, because that's what happened last week. Spurs went 0-3. But, you know, we can panic. We can say shut players down. We can say we don't need this guy, we don't need that guy. But this was always probably going to happen this season. There's going to be ups and downs, and this is another down. And yeah, there's more downs than ups this year. It's a rebuilding year. But anyway, Spurs Weekly Update. We'll go through them. We'll talk about the next ones. We'll also talk about standings and what little hope is left for the play-in. Real soon we're going to be talking about the draft, though, because things are trending down. But like I said, we got to roll with these punches. We've enjoyed a lot of success as Spurs fans, especially if you're around my age or if you're not super young. You've seen a good amount of success, right? Remember the big three? It wasn't that long ago. But anyway, enjoy this week's video and subscribe if you want to stay updated on the Spurs. Let's start with last week. 3 big losses at Memphis, versus Sacramento at home, first game back on the road trip, and at Charlotte. I called Sacramento a must-win game, and we'll start there. Lonnie Walker had a career night. He would have, actually, if it was a win, but he couldn't miss. He dropped 30. He was on fire, just scoring at a really, really efficient clip, hitting threes, hitting pull-ups, driving, doing a little bit of everything on offense. But the Spurs couldn't make him pay for it. Sacramento won the game, and as I feared, the Spurs came out of the gates slowly in that one. I did a breakdown on that video on that game. It was a pretty rough loss as far as the postseason is concerned, because Sacramento is one of the teams contending for the last play-in spots in the West, and they're one of the teams I thought the Spurs could push out, but they dropped it at home. I was worried about the complacency coming home. Slow start to the game. I don't know if it was complacency or overcomfort or just, one of those weird games. But it was rough. That's going to be a hard one to come back from, especially when you couple that with the 4 losses in a row. At Memphis was the first game of the week. Ja went off. Ja was insane. We all know what Ja Morant can do. Memphis has turned out to be, I don't think they're a contender yet, but they're going to be a good playoff team this year. That's what they are. But they're not far from becoming a contender, and can become a contender with the current team that they have if they grow up together, do a couple playoff runs together, and they all stick together. That's a playoff team. That's a championship level team in a couple years. They have a lot going for them, and Ja is just insane. This is what I'll say about Ja. He's either going to end up like top 15 of all time, or his knees are going to explode, because this dude is insane. His leaping ability, his courage, just how he drives the ball, how he runs the floor. It's insane for how small he is, what he can do at the rack, man. Just an insane athlete, but even more courageous and creative basketball player. It's amazing to watch him play, isn't it? At Charlotte, I said that was a toss-up game. Keldon had a really good game. That's a career high, right? 33 was a career high for Keldon. Just scoring in so many ways, much like Lonnie the night before. And this is coming off a game that Keldon got benched, because if y'all remember versus Sacramento, Keldon got benched that game. Just sloppy play, bad defense. Came out firing at Charlotte. The message was sent and received. Keldon responded. But it wasn't enough. Spurs couldn't make him pay. Again. I mean, we're having these young players have career nights, and the Spurs just can't get it done. And I don't know what to place it on. There's a lot of things. The Spurs are young, and they're just not quite as talented as some teams. That's just a fact. But a lot of that could be due to youth. We don't know what these players are going to end up being yet. But they're just getting outclassed as of right now. Vassell has been solid, but he hasn't been stellar like he was before the break. DeJounte's been good. Pirtle's been good. And then we're getting we're taking turns for the rest of the team. I mean, one night it was Lonnie, and then the other night it was Keldon, and then Lonnie kind of disappeared. So it's just about getting the whole team going together, playing together, because there's no one on this team that's going to carry. Not yet, anyway. They're all too young to even consider being at that level. Maybe one day they will be. And I think now and then you can have DeJounte close games and he can carry you in that regard, but yeah. Rough week. Spurs look to rebound. Monday night versus the Lakers. We know who they have. It's LeBron. It's Westbrook. They're starting Malik Monk now. Melo's there. They got the usual suspects minus the usual missing suspect in AD who's hurt again. But that's an important game if the Spurs want to stay in it, because the Lakers are now approaching the play-in territory where the Spurs are competing. So another important game. Lakers are coming off the heels of a LeBron 50 bomb, which was insane. You know, he has to be tired. He's been questionable every game of the year with knee, groin, abdomen issues. LeBron has. So we'll see how he looks versus the Spurs after really working hard to keep their team afloat. Be interesting to see how LeBron looks. But it's going to be tough with the Spurs playing the way they are, and their confidence is probably low right now. DeJounte and Devin both just got questionable statuses for the game, so we'll see if they play or not. Doesn't get much easier on Wednesday. Versus Toronto. They're a good team-oriented team. They play together. No one superstar. They have some really high-level players, though. Fred VanVleet's been out. Not sure if he'll play, but if he doesn't, you know, Scotty Barnes has been tearing it up whenever people are out. He takes on a bigger load, and he's a really good young player. Of course, they still have Pascal, the Rascal, and, yeah, it's going to be a tough game to win, even though it's at home. I should say the Spurs are on a 7-game homestand now. This is finally like their oasis at home after the rodeo road trip, because they came back for a game, then they left for a game, so they're finally home for a while. End the weekdays, I should say, versus Utah at home. Another really tough game. Another team-oriented team. I'll say it again. And, yeah, I mean, Utah's been up and down, but overall they're a really, really solid basketball team that plays together well. The kind of team that can give a young team in the Spurs a lot of trouble. Gonna be tough. And then Saturday versus Indiana. Get to see him with Halliburton for the first time. No Miles Turner. They're not that great, but we've seen the Spurs drop to teams like that. That's the game you really want to win this week, because the first three, well, I should say the second and the third, Toronto and Utah, I would not bet money on the Spurs to win those games. I would definitely not. I mean, we've seen what the Spurs can do occasionally, but if recent trends hold strong, it'll be tough 2 games. Versus the Lakers, maybe a toss-up just because they've been really bad lately, even though LeBron carried last game. I'll call that one a toss-up, but as we've seen, Spurs lose the toss-up games sometimes. So I'll be looking at LA and Indiana as the games you really want to win this week. And the other two, if anything happens in those and the Spurs find themselves on top, that's a huge bonus. But I am going to say, because they know there's a homestand coming up, backs against the wall, if DeJounte and Vassell play tomorrow, Spurs go 2-2 this week? Is that asking for too much? Maybe. I'm hoping. We'll see. Let's see who's been playing well for the Spurs lately. Obviously, they're paced by DJ, the All-Star. He's really freaking good. This is the 4-game losing streak, and of them, but this is the 4-game losing streak I have these stats set to. So DeJounte's averaging 25 over these, playing 35 minutes. You wonder if the minutes are going to start going down for DeJounte as the playoff situation looks more and more bleak. Like I've said, they're not going to bench him. They're not going to not play him because he's still young, and every young player on this team needs as many reps as possible. These are valuable NBA moments, but I could see those minutes going down closer to 30 minutes a game to close the season out if this week doesn't go well. So look out for that. Look for DJ to be playing a little bit less. Someone I wanted to highlight was Trey Jones. He's been playing really well, and interestingly, he's been playing alongside DeJounte a lot recently in a 2-point guard system or 2-point guard lineup. It's not something I expected to see because Trey doesn't really spread the court at all, although DJ can threaten from 3. So it's not like you have two non-shooters out there. But it's just interesting to see, and it's really cool to see how much confidence Pop has in Trey right now. Because Trey just gets out there and he makes things happen. He does hustle plays. He gets people the ball where they need it. I mean, he's just a great floor general and a great defender. So look out for some DJ and Trey minutes together. That's very strong defensively. Let's just look for Keldon to have a consistent week. He has pretty good numbers, but, the minutes are down because he got benched one game before he hit the 20-minute mark, and that was versus Sacramento at home. Slow start. A lot of it was on him and Doug McDermott's defense early on, and at portions of the game, like I said, it was like a sleepwalk situation for stretches of that game. And then the last one I want to talk about is Doug. He's been really cold lately. Let's see, he's shooting 34%, 31% from three. You need more than that from a player like him because that's his job. That's all he really does effectively is score. And it's not just the three. He has some floater attacking game, just like on a cut. But everything is looking bad for him right now, and he's looking like a major negative on the court whenever you see him. So we know he's better than that. I mean, it's just a cold stretch, but we're really looking for that to turn around this week to make a big difference for that starting lineup. Let's just see if Lonnie can keep it up too. He had a bad game last game, but if he keeps it up the rest of the season, we'll go talk about his contract situation again. Let's take a look at the standings. Things are looking bleak because New Orleans has been really good lately. They've won 4 in a row since the break, and the Spurs are 1-4 since the break. So they're trending up. Spurs are trending down. And guess what? Sacramento's 1 game behind the Spurs. Thankfully, they dropped another game, but they just beat the Spurs head-to-head. So that was the one I was really looking at, the Spurs to distance themselves from the Kings. But here we are. Portland, still here. They're dropping a lot of games. They're going to drop a lot of games. Spurs play them 3 times. We're not taking them super seriously, but just keep an eye on them because they have to play below 500. The Spurs aren't probably not going to go 500 now. I mean, they're just probably not. So if the Spurs want to go past the Blazers, they're going to have to win the game, the easy ones, and probably beat the Blazers 2 out of the 3 times they play. But worry about them least. New Orleans, winning. They're looking really good. Zion's coming back. Probably not for a few weeks, but... And then the Lakers, they're right there too. Spurs get a chance at them this week. But things are looking bleak. Things aren't looking great in the standings. I think next week we'll probably start looking at the mock drafts, looking at the position in drafts, talking about that and shifting the focus because, like I said, if this week is... If the Spurs lose all 4 this week, it's done. I expect them to win at least 1 game this week. But if they go 0-4, we're all hands on deck for the draft, baby. We're going to be looking at players. We're going to be looking at different things. But for now, let's hope for 2-2 this week. Let's hope to move up in the standings just a little bit. Let's hope to get that 10th seed, get these young guys a play-in game, and see what happens. So subscribe. Join me next week. I make other videos throughout the week every now and then. Just look out for those. Thanks, guys. Bye.